Hello, welcome. So today we're going to take a little look into r/Tales from Your Server. So if you would like to hear about some crazy restaurant bull, then stick around and enjoy. And don't forget to like and subscribe, please. Thank you. And of course, quick disclaimer, any opinions I give on the posts we read are just opinions, not facts, do not need to be taken as such. If you have a differing opinion, do feel free to leave it in the comments below. Just make sure you're keeping it respectful. There is no need to be mean to each other because you do not agree. With that being said, let's get into it then, shall we? So this first one was posted by a girl named Dine, and they say, what is the most ridiculous dine and dash or complaint for comped food your customer has tried to pull? Oh dearie me. When I was a server on the Vegas Strip, I had a 20 top walk in for a birthday. Usually, a party that size would have to make reservations and a card would be put on file. However, since it was a high volume weekend, we already had the events room open for overflow, so we decided to sit them among the 2 and 4 tops added to accommodate the influx of people coming in. Everything went smoothly until I went to put their dessert order in. The group started screaming, sprinted out, and one yelled, "A fucking cockroach fell on my arm!" My manager runs in, hearing the commotion. The group is gone, and immediately manager starts doing damage control. My fellow servers were all reeling because the chances were every table in that room was about to get comped. It's a desert. Sometimes bugs happen, especially in the hotter seasons, and that's procedure. But here's where things get interesting. The lovely gentleman sitting next to the table that fled got on his hands and knees under the table and pulled out the biggest roach I've ever seen. They've brought it in themselves, haven't they? The gentleman immediately started laughing and said, either Vegas has become a magical tropical oasis, or someone left their pet roach behind. Turns out the gentleman was a former exterminator and an amateur entomologist. The roach in question was a Madagascar hissing roach. Exotic pet shops sell them for $1 to $10. Sure enough, when we checked the cameras after I took the dessert order, they gathered their things. One of the lady grabbed a Tupperware out of her purse and released the roach on the table. Oh my goodness, that's crazy. That is wild. I used to have like a little colony of roaches, not like in my house, like in an enclosure, because I used to keep tarantulas and tailless whip scorpions, which are actually not scorpions, but that's a whole different story in and of itself. So yeah, I used to keep those, and obviously they would need to be fed dubia roaches, so I used to keep them, and to be fair, some of them could get pretty friggin' massive of those ones, to be honest. I have to say that was very creative, but it has a happy ending. The gentleman, an absolute legend, ended up asking for a to-go box to take the roach home. The remaining tables were so disgusted and appalled by the Dasher's behaviour that a few of them left tips for me, even though I wasn't their server. Apparently they felt bad that I had to deal with that, lol. So again, I ask you, what is the most ridiculous thing a customer did to avoid paying for a meal? I am just so cracked up about the fact that the man was like, can I have a to-go box to take this roach home, please? That's so funny. So, down in the comments then, Mariah Von Trapp says, I had this very nice couple, drop their dinners, check back frequently, they always said everything was fine, went to clear their plates after they'd finished, and the lady points my attention to a piece of steel wool on her bread plate. I pulled that out of my dinner. Now, mind you, both their dinner plates are so bare it's almost like they licked them clean. I apologise profusely and say I will get the manager. Manager looks a little funny when I tell him about table 54. Apparently the exact same couple was in the night before, Ski Town, and he had a piece of steel wool in his food and their whole dinner has been comped. He was like, I dealt with these people last night, let me go talk to them. He comes back to the service station with their check and cash to barely cover their order, no tip. But then he ended up comping the whole meal and giving me the cash. Management at that place was legendary. I love that. Also, that always cracks me up when people will be like, this was actually gross and I don't want to pay. Like, you ate the whole lot. Get the fuck out. But pay first before you do, okay? I've got bills to pay at home. Ecstatic Bear 81 says, I don't understand why they thought that that would work 2 nights in a fucking row, but I would have loved to hear the convo between them and your manager go down. Glad he made sure you got paid. And then Lady of Thermidor says, only explanation is they expected management would just cave no matter how brain dead and transparent the scheme. So, next post, posted by Virgo Bunnies, trained a new server today and I can't tell if I'm overreacting. First off, I, 20F, didn't know I was training anyone tonight. I was on a double and when I came back for the night shift, they kinda threw a 54F at me. The first thing this chick says to me is, ugh, I can't believe they still have me on training. She was told up front that she would have 5 training shifts before she's put on the floor. I understand 5 might be a little crazy, but you were new. You agreed to this, and every single one of us had the same amount of training shifts. So, for the first hour maybe, it's all she could talk about. Right, okay, let me just say, if you're getting paid to do 5 shifts of training, sound. I'll do 5 days of training. I will do 2 bloody weeks if you're paying me for it. I can understand being miffed though if you're not getting paid for the training days. That would annoy me. Like, if I'm in here, I'm in uniform, giving you my time, you better pay me. I don't think I've ever worked anywhere where you don't get paid for training days though, so hopefully most companies do pay you for training days. So for the first hour maybe, it's all she could talk about, just non-stop complaining that this is stupid, I don't need any more training, I know what I'm doing, I have 30 plus years of experience as a server, there is nothing you are going to tell me that I don't already know. Just on and on and on. I let it go and didn't really say much because quite frankly I didn't have the energy to, but I really hated the disrespect. I know she's 30 years older than me, but regardless, I am the one training you in this situation. The least you can do is be respectful and professional. Yeah, and the thing is, you might have done 30 years as a server, but you haven't served at this particular establishment, so you don't know the way they do things. You know the basics, you know how to be a server, but you don't know the ins and outs of the workings and the way that this place does things. So, you know, whether you think you know enough or not, there are still things to learn. As the shift continued, I decided to kinda let her take the lead, and I would just shadow her and help her out where she might need it, since she didn't even need me there apparently. At one point we were taking a table's order and the lady ordered a create your own pasta, which we are supposed to upsell if they would like any meatballs or sausage or cheese, just any add-ons that we have available. That's where me, being greedy, would be like, yeah, all of those actually, I will have all of those. They all sound pretty good. Now whack them in with a tomato sauce and we are sound. Just any add-ons that we have available, and she didn't offer them, so I jumped in and did it. Once we walked away from the table, she was all, man, you cut me off before I even had the chance to ask if they wanted any add-ons. Just all snappy and full of attitude. I apologised and we moved on. Then our general manager let her know that we should be offering fresh ground pepper if someone orders a salad, and she came complaining to me that, why am I getting in trouble for something I wasn't told to do? You didn't tell me I had to do that, so how am I supposed to know we have to? I tried to explain to her that our general manager wasn't mad at her. She was just trying to help her learn, and she got super snappy. And she was kind of throwing dishes around in bus tubs. What the hell? This is one of those people that's just quite egotistical, clearly. Can't hack the thought that someone knows more than them about anything. And yeah, this is not someone who's great to be a co-worker with at all. All night it was just kind of like that, on and off, where she would get super snappy with me or complain about every little thing. But finally, when it was time to do our money report, I showed her how to do the math that we needed to do, and once let the manager know we were ready to check out. There were some issues with some of the customers that she had to deal with, so we were just standing and waiting for our manager to be done dealing with the angry customers, and she did not like that our manager was taking a while. she was all, can't she just do her job and get over here? And I would like to go home and get some sleep since I have to be here in the morning tomorrow. And this is taking forever. I'm not waiting anymore. So she clocked out without even asking me or checking with anyone, and she left. Oh my goodness. Like, she's not gonna last very long at all, is she? Imagine getting fired before you even finish your training days. Crazy. The restaurant I work at requires you to check out with the closing server, so they can make sure you did all of your closing duties properly, and you need to wait for a manager's approval, and once your money report has been taken care of by a manager. It just seems crazy to me to be so disrespectful, impatient, overly cocky, and plain rude while you're still actively training. And this might be harsh of me, but I don't think she's gonna last long. No, it's not harsh. I'd say that's a pretty on-point observation. And I hope she leaves soon because I really don't want to have to deal with her complaining ass every day. I will lose my mind. Bonus complaint of mine, she made comments about my body multiple times, calling me wildly skinny and malnourished looking. What the hell? That is insane. Which personally has always really fucked with my head. So that was just like the cherry on top for me. That is awful. Management need to let her go. She is obviously not going to be good for the staff, good for the customers, none of it. And probably not good for them. So they need to let her go. She's proven she cannot be trusted. So down in the comments, Magic City BHM says she needs to be fired. She will not be a good teammate. If a manager was already having to deal with guests she's dealt with, that will continue. Yeah, definitely. And then Expert Raccoon says, something tells me that this situation will probably resolve itself before they have solid grounds to fire with cause. So Bella Dagnia says, the only time I've worked with someone like that, she walked out on her third shift. Next post was posted by General Part 7452. Am I in the wrong for quitting my job without 2 weeks' notice? Normally, I wouldn't quit my job on the spot like that. I'm a very reasonable teen and I'm hard-working. Today, Sunday, I was asked to come in on my day off because the restaurant was short-staffed. Why should become obvious soon. I agreed to come in to help them out as I was assured that this was a one-time thing. During my shift, my Dexcom app, I'm hypoglycemic, alerted me that my blood sugar was dropping. It went from 150 to 40 in the span of 10 minutes. I told my boss what was happening and that I needed to do a finger prick to check the accuracy of the reading. She was mad, but agreed to let me go to the bathroom to do a manual check. Already a massive red flag that she's mad that you need to check your blood sugars. Thankfully, my blood sugar wasn't actually scary low, but as I got up to leave, I noticed there was blood on the toilet seat where I had been sitting. I had just started my period, and my first couple of days are usually very heavy. Having a pretty tough day of it, weren't you, OP? Flippin' heck. Blood sugars crashing, periods coming. I wonder if the period affects, like, the blood sugars because of the hormonal shifts. Interesting. I'll have to look into that on my own time. I'm just interested to know if it does. But yeah, they don't sound like they're having a very good day, bless them, and an asshole manager to top it all off. But I thought my pads would make it to the end of my shift. Unfortunately, I was wrong, and blood had leaked through and was on my shorts, like a lot of blood. I went to my boss, explained the situation, and asked if I could run home to change. She replied by telling me that since my shorts were black and no one could see the blood, I needed to continue working. Oh my goodness. Is this boss just completely dead set on getting themselves sued? Like, what the hell? She then made me take a food order to a customer. I felt so gross and humiliated. I was just trying not to cry as I bought the customers their food. I bet that is a horrible feeling. I think anyone listening with a uterus has had that experience where you just bleed and it comes and you're not expecting it and it's super heavy and it gets everywhere. It happened to me a few times, I must say, and I felt so friggin' embarrassed. Yeah, it's not nice. You do feel really gross, and even though I was able to get myself cleaned up, I still was counting down the hours until I could go home and have the hottest shower going. Honestly, it's not nice, but it is normal. When I returned to the back, she snapped at me to clock out and go, and then got on to me about having an accident. I left that place sobbing. I was so embarrassed and humiliated. So I quit. I genuinely don't think I could go back there after that incident. I don't blame you, my love, honestly. Edit, I want to clarify that when I say boss, that I'm talking about the owner themselves. Wow. Sorry for any confusion. So was I in the wrong here? No, absolutely not. That's crazy that it was the owner. Like, no wonder they're short-staffed. It's probably because no one wants to bloody work for them because they're absolutely awful people. That's just so nasty. So, down in the comments, barhost45 says, better off not being in a workplace like that. I'd tell corporate as well what happened. Unfortunately, it sounds like they were the owners, so you can't really tell corporate unless they were a franchise. But even then, half the time when it's a franchise, corporate don't care. They're just like, well, it's their franchise. They technically own it, kind of, sort of. Franchises are weird. So, you know, we don't want to know. Crazy. Making a teen work in menstrual blood soaked shorts in a food environment? So MG Girard 13 then says, and or the health inspector and the Department of Labour. Yeah, exactly. They need grassing up. Definitely. That is disgusting behaviour from that boss. So, next post posted by Heavy Obligation 778. Worst customer stories. Had a customer order a scallop ceviche today. I went over a few minutes after I dropped the plates at their table to check on how they were finding the food. Okay, I know why it's important for servers to do that, but oh my god, as a customer, is it annoying because it'll be every time when I have just shoved the biggest mouthful of food in my mouth that they'll be come over like, is everything okay with the food? And I'm just there like, rah, 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 rah. It's so embarrassing. To check on how they were finding the food. I work at a fine dining restaurant with high service standards, and our clients are usually fairly distinguished. Oh, are they now? Twiddle the moustache, yes. She clicked her fingers to beckon me over to her side of the table. Clicked her fingers. Excuse me works just fine. I'm not a dog. Don't click your fingers. And started talking some gibberish with her mouth full. She then proceeds to hand me her used napkin and spit a piece of chewed up scallop onto it. Ew! She then tells me it's not her thing, and I should take the plate and the eaten scallop back into the kitchen. You're lucky you're not wearing the scallop, my love. That is disgusting. It's like some people have never stepped foot in a restaurant before. It's so utterly disrespectful to the whole restaurant, and I can't believe that's something I actually experienced. Yeah, I can't believe it either. Like, you were far too nice to not make her wear that as a hat, honestly. So, down in the comments, Original FNG says, gross, sorry that happened to you. If I may respectfully offer a humble piece of advice, if people try to hand you a used napkin again, don't accept it. Apply broadly. Yeah, exactly. And by the way, I know that if she was to make them wear it as a hat, you'd probably get fired, but internally, that is exactly what I would be envisaging myself doing at that point. I'd just be having an out-of-body experience, like imagining myself just dumping that thing on her head. But also, yes, don't take used napkins or tissues off anyone. I'll never forget my youngest, a little while ago, decided during COVID times to try and pick up a used tissue off the floor that some dirty getter dropped on the floor just outside. I've never darted so quickly to grab a kid. I was just like, no, don't touch that. It's disgusting. So then, term aggravating 8043 says, had a woman come in that was already clearly grumpy about something else. She ordered a plain baked potato with plenty of butter, and her friend ordered a cake. She was instantly angry because the cake came first, since it was already ready and come straight from the bar, and her potato took about 5 minutes from the kitchen. Once she got her potato, she demanded to know where the butter on it was. I assured her the chef put butter on it and didn't want to be rude and point out that it was clearly melted, as that's what butter does on a hot jacket potato. But she demanded I clarify with the chef that her potato had butter on it. Okay, my love, let me help you out here. Look at your potato. Does it glisten? Yes, well, they don't do that on their own. That's melted butter. Checked with the chef, who assured me she did, but to be a good server I took individual butter portions to her table. I assured her it was buttered, but he was extra if she preferred to add more herself. At this point she hadn't even checked her baked potato, but she decided that was enough and to send it back. Took it back, and yes, when we checked the potato, it was swimming in butter. She then demanded a cake, just like her friend. Okay, no problem. Got her cake. She's then pissed off because the cake wasn't heated. She didn't ask for it to be heated, but okay, we can do that for her too. But that was enough for this woman to demand the manager before storming out. Some people just go out looking for a fight, and unfortunately serve as a target. Yeah, and this is exactly why I would never work in a restaurant again. That is exactly why. If it wasn't for the customers, working in a restaurant would actually be quite a fun job. Because normally the kitchen staff are hilarious to joke about with when, you get a chance. The other servers are fun. I used to like when I got to go on the bar and serve drinks and stuff. That was fun. It was just the people, the customers were the problem. And then Cheese Whiz Official says, that's a wild story, and I'm sorry that you and the chef had to deal with her. So then Cool Dart 61 says, one of my old science teachers came in once while I was working and had his toddler with. I'm not sure why, but he absolutely hated me. He would try and use trick questions during class and use it to embarrass me. He kept giving his toddler a cup full of soda and no lid. The toddler kept dumping it over the tables, seats, floor. This happened twice in a row. Would he try to clean up after his son or keep the cup away? Nope. But he would rush over to me and demand I clean everything up. I can still picture his smirk as he watched me clean. Oh, I hope he stubs his toe every time he walks up the stairs. What an arse. And then Mabel Schwartz says, they'd be getting one with a lid, lol. We do it to adults too after a second spill. Usually gets a laugh. Oh, I love that. That's quite funny, actually. I have had a few times where I've accidentally knocked things over. So my coordination can be a little off because of the thing I have with my brain. So sometimes, I'll be reaching for something, but my arm isn't quite where I need it to be. If that makes sense. So there's been a couple of times I've knocked drinks over when we've been out, and I'm always trying my best to clean it up. I don't just expect people to clean it up. But if the staff then bought me a cup with a lid on it, I'd be like, fair play. That is fine. Probably for the best. And I would definitely laugh. Honestly, my coordination is terrible. The amount of times I've fallen upstairs, off curbs, off the sofa, missed chairs trying to sit down. It's hilarious, but also the bruises are immense. So, next post, Powderfresh86 says, he talks to everyone that way. In my late teens and early 20s, I worked as a waitress/server for a small local diner that had more than one location in my city. Unfortunately, the diners no longer exist, but at the time they served 24-hour breakfast. Oh, sounds amazing. And steak meals with refillable coffee. Usually, we had 2 to 3 waitresses along with a short order fry cook. Sometimes the fry cook was the manager or assistant manager. I was a pretty good waitress and could take in multiple orders by memory well. One day, a middle-aged couple came in and sat at a front booth. I had their table and walked over with water, menus, and my little pad tucked in my apron. I greeted the couple politely, and instantly the wife was polite, but her husband was not. I asked what beverage did they want to start. The woman with a smile asked for the juice, but her husband didn't even look at me before saying, "Coffee," rudely. I filled their drink order, giving them time to look at the menus. As I returned, I took the wife's food order. She again was very kind and polite. I got to the husband, and I'll never forget how he talked to me. "Me, and for you, sir, man, I want a 3-egg special. I want my eggs over hard." No, why did that make me laugh? I don't know. I'm so childish. Not scrambled, not over soft, not over medium, over hard. Me, okay, got it. Man, I want my hash browns well done, not medium, not light, well, understand? Me, growing frustrated but remaining polite, got it. Man, I want wheat toast. I want it lightly toasted, not dark, not medium, lightly toasted. Me, sir, do you think I'm stupid? The man just stared at me surprised. Wife, oh, don't mind him. He talks to everyone that way. Oh, that poor woman. Oh dear. Me, wow. I wrote and repeated his order back just as he said it and walked away. I made sure to reiterate his order as he said it to my manager and fry cook. She made it perfectly and they left us a decent tip. Probably ended up feeling bad because you called him out, like... Honestly, you know, the fact that he left a tip, I genuinely think because he's not used to people calling him out on his bullcrap, and he was like, "What? You've been told off." So, down in the comments, Babylon5 says, "Could you imagine living with that piece of shit?" No, I could not. He'd be out the door before he could even ask me for his lightly frickin' cooked toast. And then the OP says, no, his poor wife seemed resigned. Honestly, yeah, I can imagine. Bless her. Poor thing. Okay then, so I think that's all we've got time for today. If you made it all the way to the end with me, then I appreciate you very, very much. If you give a little like, subscribe, notifications on, that is your initiation into the Governor Void. Welcome. Whatever it is you're doing for the day, I hope you have a really good rest of the day. Goodbye.